joints?
Oh. In the skeleton? See?
In the skeleton. The joints are in the skeleton.
Can we get those kids' pictures back?
Huh? Where are all the joints? They're on the spine. Huh? Where the spine is articulating with itself and where it's articulating with the ribs, with the pelvis. Huh? This is where all the joints are. Huh? And remember, just as with the hand, there's many, many joints, the foot, there's many, many joints. Wherever there's a lot of joints, what's it saying to you? There's a lot of movement. Okay, so we know lots of the things we've been doing, looking at the spinal curves changing, getting these different planes of movement waking up, are all really asking all of these to come a little bit more alive, without forgetting that we've got shoulders and hip joints and how they articulate. So this is a picture of the most superficial muscles of the back. So what do I mean by superficial? If you're not sure, the ones that are closest to the outside. What do you notice about them compared to the really deep muscles? They're bigger. Yeah, they're bigger and they cover a lot more joints.
They go in different directions.
They go in different directions. And I think that's really great for you to notice. Nothing on the torso is a straight line, really. They're all these cross things going through. The only straight lines are these, and even there, they're going off at a bit of an angle. Yeah? But there's no really, the only really straight muscle in the whole torso is rectus abdominis. Yeah? The six-pack. that goes from the pubic bone up. So, if we're talking about, actually no, I'll step back a bit. So, if we talk about that for the skeleton to do the work of supporting itself in space, and the skeleton can't do that without a brain and without muscles. Which muscles do you think would be best at supporting the skeleton? The big ones or the little ones? Yeah, the little ones. So the ones that are going to allow more movement at all these levels. So could you begin to see that if I've got this great big trapezius muscle turned on, so it goes from the base of your neck across to the point of your shoulder, all along the spine of your scapula, and then all the way down to the middle of your back. Now, if I use that muscle to hold me up, do you think that might limit something in my movement?
How would your arm do?
Does anything happen in my torso? Much? So one of the models that they use to describe muscles that I actually like, it's a nice one, is they divide them into what are called local muscles and global muscles. So local muscles are the small muscles, they're closest to the joints, and they literally cover just a... So a local muscle would be a muscle that's only going these really deep ones. It's going one vertebra to the next. One vertebra to the next. One vertebra to the next. Could you imagine, because they're the really deep ones, you can see even the next superficial one are longer. They're going from one vertebra to about 3 down. 1 vertebra to about 3 down. Huh? Go on, Jenny.
And they, when someone's first doing something a bit beyond what they're used to, and they kind of shake just a little bit, that they have the overall, like they can take it, but they've just got this little shake. Is it the little muscles like this that are going, oh, oh, oh?
Or is it the big muscles not holding on?
For me, it's the big muscles. That's the big muscles that you're trying to get. You're not actually using.
And I don't know. Because it's going to depend on what your experience of that is. So these little muscles, you can see how far could a muscle that's going from there to there move? Not very. So it's going to be doing tiny, tiny movements, tiny, tiny adjustments. And, you know, so what they're thinking at the moment, as it sort of makes sense, these are the muscles that really don't do much work. They're just there holding on, doing about 4% of their possibility, and they're designed to work posturally. They're designed, they won't fatigue, the message comes from a particular part of the brain to these what are called more tonic fibres in the muscle, and you don't need oxygen for them, and they'll just keep going and going and going and going, and they will not fatigue. But they don't need oxygen because they're not using a big supply. No?
It's very light. They still have oxygen.
Oh, I'm going to ask that to Lisa. She might know more about that than me. Pain receptors. Yeah. No.
It turns into pain once
It gets to the brain.
So this is how they're thinking about pain now, is that it's a response rather than a So pain receptors as such.
Yeah, can we have that again?
Yeah.
Oh, that's worth having on tape. Can you say that again? Thank you.
And it's a great thing, and I think, you know, at some stage Lisa should really give you a good talk on pain.
Okay, so the question was about pain receptors and whether they're in the muscles. And I was saying that we don't really talk about pain receptors as such. The receptors are monitoring things like chemical changes and pressure changes and heat changes, but it doesn't turn into pain until your brain processes that information somehow.
And
or your
turns
nervous
it into
system, it's
pain.
not just the brain. But if your system thinks that that's a dangerous sensation, then pain is one of the outcomes that could happen. Different way of thinking about it.
It is.
It's really nice. It's a great
Quite a while now.
Long time.
Yeah.
So Melzack and Wall were talking about how
The
brain,
walls,
how pain
the
is
gate.
modulated with the gate theory in the spinal cord itself. But this sort of shift away from going, you know, you tread on a nail, that triggers pain, and then our brain knows that we've got pain. Now they're saying, and I don't know how long, you know, when the shift happened, probably gradually. Now it's like, okay, there's our receptors down here for, you know, tearing and chemical and pressure and whatever else. That information comes into the brain, and then if there's a bus about to run us over, we go, I don't care if that's pain, I'm getting out of here. That becomes more important. But if it's just that, then our brain goes, okay, this is the most important thing. This I'll pay attention to. There's danger, there's pain. That's going to get me off the nail instead of out of the road of the bus. So, you know, it's a really complex process.
My
much more refined.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of,
Just
you know,
pulling.
if you think of all the information coming into your brain at any one time, danger has sort of a priority, but there's, you know, which danger is it that we're going to pay attention to?
And it's very individual.
It's very individual, and it's based on history and,
Yeah.
you know,
Beliefs and
all of
Yes.
that.
many things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't feel pain as much.
Oh, now I'm going to cut
Yeah.
something else.
Exactly.
Mm.
Often you have a bruise and you go, I don't know how it got that.
Yeah.
You know, they're still doing a lot of research. What they would say often is when you have pain, these very small muscles turn off. So you've actually, because you're splinting, you bring in bigger muscles
Oh, okay, so they relax.
to come in and splint the area. So what you're often trying to get with people after pain or trauma is to stop the splinting. You know, it's like, you know, someone's been using crutches for splinting away, or I've got a sore foot. Splint, because when we splint, we feel less. We've deadened the sensation down by putting more muscle on, by, you know. So then I've got to learn to walk again, because that's the danger of plasticity. You know, we talk about it's a wonderful thing. It also very quickly teaches you that my foot's not safe.
This muscle here is enormous, like
Ah.
it's being worked out in the gym.
Mm.
That's because it's splinting.
So anyway, I don't want to go into this. Splinting is co-contraction. If you got really scared about something, what did your tummy just do? Yeah, that's splinting. No? So we've got all these little layers all in between the ribs. But again, all I really want you to see from this is if these bigger muscles are on, none of these can work. No? They just can't do it. No? So these are the muscles, the small muscles are designed to support our skeleton in space. No? The big muscles are designed to move us through space. No? But often we use our big muscles to hold us up in space.
Would that also make it difficult, like if you're in a situation where you're splinting, whatever, is that one of the reasons it's difficult to have the big ones let go if they're being tight, because the little ones aren't actually working?
How can they work if you've got the big ones on top doing the work all the time?
Yeah, but I mean, would that also make it harder to let go of those bigger muscles? The system's going, these aren't working anyway.
So I'm going to use Madavi here as my little thing. No, really. So you're sitting, standing, sorry, standing. Give me your arm, Madavi. Okay. So if I ask Madavi, I'm a wall, and I ask Madavi just to press into me a little bit. Huh? She's learned something. Huh? So do you get taller or small? Do you get longer or... She gets longer. Huh? Now, do what you used to do, Madavi. There's all her big muscles. Huh? She's immediately brought on all her big muscles. So hold the big muscles and now try and change the shape of your torso. Yeah? Now, do the other one where you got taller and now change the shape of your torso. Yeah? Because she hasn't engaged those great big muscles, because that's weight bearing really. I'm just asking her to press into a wall. So if you could all just find a pillar quickly, or the wall, just feel what would be your response without thinking to pressing into the wall. Would it make you, would you get shorter? Or could that actually help you to get taller? So one of the really fascinating things, and you think, how does this happen, is that what makes lifting really easy is the moment of the lift, we don't compress, we actually get taller. Huh? We unload the disc. We unload. Okay. So what you're beginning to feel here is the anti-gravity response. Huh? That when I press, press gives me lift. Press gives me lift. Press gives me lift. It doesn't. No? So, get to your mats. On your hands and knees.
Explains a lot of stuff about weightlifting.
Yeah. Yes, yes, Jane. Yes, Jane. Absolutely. So Jane just